Hi guys, good to see you. Sydney, you got him a little bit. I'll hold you. I'll hold you. Hi guys. Hi Veronica. Hi Roman. Hi Armin. Hi everybody. Well, happy post Thanksgiving, I guess. Happy Friday. I hope you're enjoying your Black Friday, and if you can consider buying goods from Ukraine, that would be fantastic. But no pressure. Hi, Christina. Hi, Theo. Hi, Mars. Hi, Loyalty. Hi, everyone. Also, before we get into the nitty gritty and before we get into the bad news or into everything that someone says, is Natasha from Russia a spy? I don't think she's a spy, but I think she's a brainwashed Russian propagandist. Like, I don't know if she's hired by the government. She's probably on the list of allowed bloggers because her narratives are incredibly damaging to Ukraine and are plain Russian propaganda. Hi Prexis, hi Carolyn, hi Juju, hi Jillian, hi Joe, hi Getty. What are you doing? Sin. But thank you, Mariana. So good news is my YouTube got monetized. So now by watching Torque videos, you will be helping Torque by watching ads because all of the proceeds from Torque videos are going to go Torque as we've discussed. Hi, Albert. I don't know if you guys see the monetization options on YouTube. I don't quite know how they work yet, but I know they're there. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Thank you, 300 live. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's very incredibly sweet of you. So monetization options are there, and now I know what they look like. But so yeah, that's the news that I woke up to yesterday on Thanksgiving, and that was probably the only like good news. It was very sweet because John was like really happy for me, and John's dad was really happy for me. For those of you who missed the lives yesterday, I kind of have an announcement. So most likely, because you guys have been asking me for like Ukrainian recipes and for stuff like that, I'm no good chef. I'm a good baker. I bake very well, but I don't. I'm not a confident cook. But John's dad, my father-in-law, is a chef. He is a French chef, but a chef nonetheless. So I think what we're gonna do, and we've discussed it yesterday, but we are going to plan it out more. John and I have ideas, but what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna basically create a segment on my channel that's going to be me giving John's dad a name of a Ukrainian dish. He's going to research it. He's going to prepare it, and we're gonna film him with all the ingredients, like the process and everything like that. So a real chef is going to teach you how to make Ukrainian food. And me and John are going to be the judge of whether it's good or not, because while John was only in Ukraine for 7 days, my mom, my grandma, and my dad have stuffed him with so much food that I think his judgment on Ukrainian food is pretty good. And so him and I are going to be the judges of whether it's good food or not. He's probably going to be just a voice behind the camera, but he's going to put in his 2 cents of the opinion. Someone's asking, have you been to Dnipropetrovsk before? First of all, it's not Dnipropetrovsk, it's Dnipro. Dnipropetrovsk is a city that doesn't exist. It's a Russian name of a city that just doesn't exist. The city's name is Dnipro, and yes, I have been there before. Anyways, so that is that. That's some fun news. With that, we're also getting, Brandy says, yay, I saw an ad. Yes, the YouTube is now monetized. So yay, now Torque can get monetization from the next Torque segment. To be fair, to be honest, one of the reasons why I've been waiting a little bit for the last Torque video to be released is because I was kind of hoping that maybe my YouTube will get monetized, because I reapplied, and with all of the strong worded emails that I've sent them before, I was hoping that they wouldn't want to deal with me, and it looks like they didn't. So yeah, so the next part of the Torque video is going to be monetized, and that means yeah, that's what it means. So that's going to be fantastic, and we are going to be able to donate all of the proceeds to him. Someone on Twitch is asking how much of the nation is without electricity. Well, it depends. It's different from every day, but there are rolling blackouts all over Ukraine. Some cities are in a permanent blackout, like Kyiv has a really huge electricity issue. Kherson is without gas and electric and hot water and stuff like that. Well, that's gas. But so most of the cities do rolling blackouts to save electricity. Some of the cities are so all of the cities do rolling blackouts to save electricity. And some of the cities, the blackouts are not rolling. It's just that the infrastructure is so ruined that it's hard to restore electricity. So I hope that answers your question. But basically, that's what it is, and I am it's incredibly difficult. I was saying this yesterday, but it was just like a little chat live in the evening. But yesterday during the Thanksgiving dinner, so I was at 2 because my in-laws are divorced. So I have one Thanksgiving with one part of John's family and another Thanksgiving with another part of John's family. And so at the first Thanksgiving dinner, there was like a bit of the dinner where everybody, it was sort of like talking about the things they're grateful for. And, one of the things that was said is like, oh, this year is a good year. Like there is a lot that happened. And it's like, yes, for most people it is. There is a lot that had happened. And there was this thing said, it was like, oh, I am really happy for Yulia for how well she has been doing. And that's a great compliment. And I'm very happy that I've been doing good and that I've been finding sort of like a new avenue that I really want to work on, which is reporting, which is news, which is like politics. But also, obviously, I wouldn't be here had it not been for the invasion of my country. So I would rather not be doing well, and I would rather not be like, doing this, because that would mean that the invasion wasn't there. And everybody was sort of saying what they're like grateful for. And, it's like my sister-in-law, she got a house with her husband, which was like super nice. And, there was just like a lot of like positive things that happened. And all I kept thinking about was that like, I'm not grateful for any of these normal things that people are supposed to be grateful for. I'm grateful that my parents are alive, and it's just such a like strange thing to think about on Thanksgiving, because it's like a day to be like sort of thankful, to remember everything good that happened, to sort of go over that and be like jolly, and stuff like that. And for me, I wasn't jolly. I was incredibly sad and trying my best to not be sad, because it's not necessarily like a table conversation starter. Like, yeah, this year I'm grateful that today my dad texted me and my mom texted me, and both of them are not dead. It's kind of like, it's a very, it's a daunting feeling. And it was just like, I guess it didn't sink in nearly as much as it did on Thanksgiving, when everybody sort of had these like positive things to be thankful for, right? And the thing that I am thankful for doesn't necessarily qualify as positive at all. It's just, it's heartbreaking. And so that was a very interesting Thanksgiving. It's the first of its kind, I want to say. Even, like people like to reminisce about COVID, and people reminisce about COVID, and people talk about these people. I think that everybody thought that Thanksgiving 2020 was the worst, because, well, none of us were really grateful. We were just kind of Thanksgiving 2020, yeah, because we were just kind of like lost in time and space continuum. Everybody was tired. People were arguing. We were all cooped up at home and stuff like that. But it's not nearly the same as what people who are going through war feel like on that holiday. And one of the most like heartbreaking things, I guess, is like my parents, they don't celebrate any American holidays. Obviously they're in Ukraine, but they know what American holidays are. And usually they will like text me like, oh, happy Thanksgiving, like Merry Christmas, or like, I don't know, happy 4th of July, And this year my dad just texted me. He was like, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, hey, sorry, I haven't been responding. I'm at John's parents, and it's Thanksgiving today. And he says, I know. And it's just like one of those things where I know he knows, but it's like happy Thanksgiving is not something, like what are we happy for? And so I just said, I'm grateful I have you, and he just sent me like a little heart. And I think it was like, it's such a telling exchange, because like what else is there to really say? So yeah, that was a little difficult, but other than that, it was a pretty good day. Cindy was very happy. Cindy got turkey without me knowing. I was like excited to give Cindy turkey at the end of the dinner because she was behaving so well, and I was like, oh, maybe we can give her a little piece. And then next thing I know, Gary, our hopefully soon to be local chef on this channel, goes, oh, I've been giving her turkey this whole time. And I'm like, what do you mean? But anyways, she was happy. She met 2 cats yesterday. The cats were completely like, what is this creature and why is it here? But, at the end of the day, everybody was okay. Hi, OS music. Hey, hope everyone is staying safe in Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, there is no place safe in Ukraine, but as safe as can be, I guess. Hi, brother Nix from the grave. So they finally declared the Holodomor a genocide. It only took a war of conquest waged by fascist regime in the 21st century. I'm most grateful for the armed forces of Ukraine. Thank you. Oh my God, Ginger, or OM Ginger. But yeah, so the thumbnail today is dedicated to Holodomor. So Holodomor is a famine. It quite literally translates from Ukrainian into English as to starve someone with famine, or to like wage a famine. Holod is like famine, to be hungry, right? And mor is like morete, and morete means to like exhaust someone with something, right? So hi Perm. So Holodomor is one of the greatest tragedies of Ukrainian population. There were 3, one in the 20s, one in the 30s, and one in the late 40s. However, the one in the 30s is the biggest one because that's when it was the most successful from the Soviet authorities in their task of genociding Ukrainians. And according to different estimates, from 4 to 15 million people died. It depends on what you count. If you just purely count the people that were starved to death, then it's like 4 to 6 million. If you also count the self-unalivings from hunger, then it's much more. If you count the deaths from diseases that are connected to extreme starvation, then it's also more than that. So it's basically, it just depends on like various sources calculated in different ways, but it's from 4 to 15 million Ukrainians who were unalived. I personally think that self-unalivings and diseases that followed that, and birth defects and stuff like that also count, because it wouldn't have happened had it not been for the famine. And so the famine was recognized only by a couple of countries, unfortunately, up until recently. For instance, one of the biggest disappointments to me is that, of course, Ukraine and the rest of the world recognize Holocaust as a genocide. Israel, however, refuses to recognize Holodomor as a genocide as well. And I think it's incredibly hypocritical from the state of Israel. That is not to say from the Jewish people, not to say from the Israelis, from the Israeli government. It is an incredibly hypocritical, incredibly horrible, incredibly awful thing to do, especially because, recently they deemed Zelensky in Israeli Times as the most influential Jew in the world. And they're so proud of him, yet he is the one who asked Israel to recognize Holodomor as a genocide, and they just ignored him. So, the way that Israel treats Volodymyr Zelensky is they like to boast about him because he's Jewish, but they don't actually support him, So it's kind of like a very one-sided relationship. So up until recently, very few countries recognized Holodomor, and Ukrainians and the Ukrainian government, since the beginning of this war of Russian aggression, has been asking the world to recognize Holodomor for what it is, a genocide. And we've been pleading, we've been begging, we've been asking, because this is something that has happened to us. This is a genocide. It killed millions of people, and there is no doubt in it being an artificially created famine. No matter what Russia says, they say that like the crops were bad that year, yet it's only Ukrainians who died. Poland was offering us. Not Poland, but some European countries were offering us crops, and Moscow declined. There were also armed soldiers that were coming in and taking away all of the food and grain and everything from Ukrainian people. They restricted their movements, and it's mostly people in the villages who suffered the most from it. And they weren't allowed to move. They weren't allowed to go forage. They weren't allowed to move to cities. If they were trying to go get food, they would just be assassinated. So it was no doubt an artificially created by Stalin famine. And good news is that the Irish Parliament, the lower chamber of the Irish Parliament, recognized Holodomor as a genocide. Moldova recognized Holodomor as a genocide. And right now, the Bundestag recognized Holodomor as a genocide. So Germany is about to recognize Holodomor. Honey. Why are you making the most noisiest noises on the planet? I'm making tea. Thank you, Suzanne. So basically, and the next one to follow suit is the US, as they're talking about it as well. Canada recognized Holodomor. Canada was one of the first countries to recognize Holodomor. That was 14 years ago. The reason why Canada did so fast is because, as we all know, or maybe a lot of people don't know, but Canada is, there is a huge Ukrainian diaspora in Canada. A lot of Ukrainians have moved there specifically due to these circumstances, and during that time and earlier as well through the Russian Empire. So Ukrainians have a very strong community in Canada, and Canada is incredibly supportive to Ukraine and to Ukrainians, and always has been, because, well, there is just such a huge population of Ukrainians. Canada is the #1 country for the numbers of diaspora of Ukrainians in the world. So far, here is the list of the countries that have recognized Holodomor as an artificially created famine and the genocide of the Ukrainian population. Those countries are Argentina, Australia, Canada, Colombia, Czech Republic, Ecuador, Estonia, Georgia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Mexico, Moldova, Paraguay, Peru, Poland, Portugal, Ukraine, the Holy See in Vatican City, and Romania. To the list of those are going to be added Ireland, Germany, and hopefully the United States. Привіт, Кременчук. Привіт. So that's a big deal, and it might not seem like a big deal to you, but it is a very big deal, because in schools you all have learned about the Holocaust because it was a genocide of the Jews. But none of you have learned in schools about Holodomor, which was a Russian genocide of Ukrainians. And up until this invasion, I think we were so used to this just being, it is what it is, that we were kind of tired fighting to recognize it as like a real thing. And up until I started talking about Ukraine and our past online to like a wide audience of people, I didn't even realize how incredibly screwed up our circumstances were and how much we were taught to just deal with it. Every single Ukrainian has a story from their grandmother about eating soil. Every single Ukrainian has a grandma that will tell them something along the lines of, "Oh, you don't like this? You don't want to eat it? Well, my mother had to eat soil, and you don't like your food." You know, every single Ukrainian has a family member who has been tortured and sent to a gulag. Every single Ukrainian has a family member whose history they absolutely don't know, not because they didn't meet them and that person didn't have the time to tell them the history, but it's because that history was incredibly hidden and everybody was trying to pretend to be Russian to survive. I told you this recently, but I recently found out that my grandmother and my grandfather, who were told they were Russian, they were born in Moscow and Novosibirsk, respectively. They thought they were Russian. Turns out they are not. They are not. Turns out they are Balkan, Jewish, and Ukrainian. And it's incredibly, not uncanny that my grandmother, whose parents were Ukrainian and Jewish and Balkan, ended up in a gulag in Siberia, because Novosibirsk is Siberia. It's not incredibly uncanny that my grandpa's dad died at the Finnish front while being Baltic. The Finnish Winter War, it's not uncanny that he doesn't know the man whose last name he carries, his mom's first husband, and he doesn't know the man who's his real father because both were sent to the Winter War front. It's not uncanny that my dad's mom has never seen her dad because he was thrown onto the front in World War II, and she was born on June 13th, 1941. And 9 days later, she was in her mother's arms in a bunker of her apartment. It's not uncanny that Ukrainian people were not nearly as scared of the Nazis as they were of the Red Army, who were supposed to be our army who protects us. It should be something unbelievable, and it should be something that has never existed. But unfortunately, both my grandfathers and my grandmother have nicer things to say about German soldiers than they do about the Red Army. And this is not to say that Germans were nice or okay. No, that doesn't justify the Germans by any means. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying that if they consider Germans to be okay, but they can't talk about the Red Army coming to Ukraine without just holding tears. Imagine that. Imagine how bad the Red Army had to have been. And that's your army. That was supposed to be our army that protected us from the Nazis. Imagine how bad they were if Nazis compared to them were considered nice. So it's an incredibly large step in the world, especially for Ukrainian history to be recognized in the world and to be taught. For these things to be taught, and for history to be taught properly, because a lot of history was not taught because of Russia. The stuff that wasn't taught is the Holodomor, is the killings of Ukrainian literary elite in the 60s, in the 70s, is the 3 Holodomors, is, all of the gulags, is that Ukrainian people with Ukrainian passports during World War II were either thrown onto the front as the cannon fodder, or were shipped to the gulags in Siberia. For what reason? Not the Germans, Ukrainians. It wasn't taught that Russians were looting, assaying, and killing Ukrainians during World War II while they were just imprisoning Germans and they were doing those atrocities to Ukrainian civilians. Why? That was supposed to be our army, right? Wrong. The Soviet Union was never a union of nations. It was always Russia absorbing other countries underneath it and always taking it out on Ukrainians. And that history needs to be taught. And it starts with Holodomor and recognizing it as what it is, a genocide of a Ukrainian population, one of the worst genocides in the history of the world. So Jahar Dudayev here on Twitch says, what do you think about the hypothetical delivery of a Harap to Ukraine in response to the Iranian Shahed 136? Seems like a good thing, an example from Karabakh where the separatists were destroyed. So, I mean, I'm not sure, but what I do know, what would really, really help in response to the Shaheds and kamikaze drones is the Gray Eagles. I think the Gray Eagles would really help, and there are senators pushing to send those to Ukraine, pushing Biden to approve sending those to Ukraine. Also, another thing is Poland has asked Germany to let them use Patriot air defense missiles in Western Ukraine to protect the border of Polish airspace and to protect Ukraine at the same time. And Germany seems to be very, very not interested in doing so. So instead of saying no, they said that NATO Parliamentary Assembly has to approve it. So we will see what steps are going to be next. I guess it's better than nothing, but it would be much more useful and much more helpful if we actually got what we really need, which is the Gray Eagles and Patriot air defense systems. So okay, well let's so here is someone says, my grandparents who've been through World War II and Holodomor never talked about it. I wish they did. So here's the thing, I was talking to my grandma, and actually my dad's mom, and actually she's kind of the same. I've never heard anything from her, and she said that she used to absolutely not want to talk about these things because it was traumatizing, and why talk about them if they are gone, And she's like, and now I feel like we should have been screaming about it on every corner. We should have been talking about it. We should have been letting everybody know. We should have been fighting for it. We should have been letting the world know exactly what happened, but that's the thing, that a lot of that older generation, they were so traumatized that they didn't want to speak on these things. And it's awful, but it is what it is. And it's, it is what it is. And it's good that we get to find out about these things at least now, because now this older generation who's been through these atrocities is very willing to speak on them because they really want the world to know what happened. So I'm going to say that we're going to dive into the news in a minute because, well, we're about 30 minutes into the discussion and it's about time. But I do want to ask how you guys are doing. How was your Thanksgiving? Let's talk about let's talk about 1 second. Sorry. Sorry, I just had to respond to this very quickly. But yeah, how was your guys' Thanksgiving? And, did you do anything good for Black Friday? And, just how are you doing? So, some positive notes. Hi, Sophia. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sophia is a Ukrainian girl. She is here very often, and she says that there was no light all day, and she had some, she was online for like an hour a little while ago, and now, but for 2 days they didn't have any light. 18 people over for Thanksgiving. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people. Sandra. Yeah, hi, Sandra. Yeah, 18 people for Thanksgiving. That's a lot. Um, oh, thank you for the turkey and thank you for the pumpkin pie. Actually, you know what's funny? So I normally don't really like pies. I normally don't really like pies. I don't like sweets that much to begin with. I like baking pies. I don't like consuming pies, and like pumpkin pies and pies like that are just not my like, it's not like the kind of sweets that I would really like. So I yesterday, basically normally when we do Thanksgiving dinner, I will just tell John to order both pies and like pick both pies and and eat both pies. And then we just had so much food that he kind of picked both to be pumpkin pie, and that's not something I would choose. I would choose like blueberry or cherry or something. And then he couldn't eat the second piece because it was too much. And I tried it and I was like, wait, this is actually a really good pie. So yesterday I discovered that I really like pumpkin pie. I didn't know that, but maybe like a specific pumpkin pie. It's like at that place, the pumpkin pie was just really good. So I had a couple bites. Same old, same old. My wife was only mad and not talking to me for half the day. Oh, Gorilla Joe. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Yeah, I one of the things that like surprises me, not surprises me, I guess like it's not uncanny because so many family members are in the same place. But what always like gets me, hi Seattle, on Thanksgiving and family holidays is that they never go smoothly. Everyone is always mad because everyone is so stressed with the cooking and the prepping and things like that. And I just don't get it. Like, no one should be stressed. It doesn't matter. You know what? If your dinner doesn't come out, or like, I don't know, someone doesn't have the food they wanted or whatever, so be it. Just enjoy. Just enjoy. Don't argue. Don't ask too personal questions. If someone wants to tell you, they will tell you. Don't pry with your relatives. Don't pry with your grandkids. Don't pry with your like nieces and nephews. Don't pry with these things. Like, just eat your turkey. Be happy. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. But yeah, so that's just me. But yeah, that's what I think, and it always surprises me that this is what it comes out to. One sec. I have very, very fantastic news. A friend of mine who's also a creator on this platform, I'm just not going to put her on the spot, but she is fantastic. And we were looking for a social media manager for Mission Kharkiv, which is this nonprofit organization that I volunteer my time for. And I really wanted to introduce this creator, because she's awesome and I've become friends with her, to my team, and to see if they would like her as a social media manager. And so we just got a green light because everybody loved her, which I knew they would love her, because there is nothing to not love. She's freaking fantastic, and I'm so happy that she's going to be working with us on this adventure and on this nonprofit. And it's an incredible nonprofit. If I haven't mentioned it enough times, honestly, if you don't follow Mission Kharkiv on Instagram, please do so. Like, you will help spread the word. Mission Kharkiv is a nonprofit organization that was created in Ukraine by two guys from Kharkiv, one of which is now a doctor at Oxford, and another one is a mathematician with Spanish education. And Charles, who is my friend, he's American, he's a historian, he's an activist, he's amazing. So the three of them decided to start this organization in a basement in Lviv during an air raid. And now basically our organization delivers medication to the frontline cities, recently liberated villages, for like chronically ill patients, mostly oncological patients. We also evacuate oncology patients from the frontline cities in Kharkiv region and bring them abroad for treatment. And all of this is done through Mission Kharkiv, and it's an amazing organization. And they have done so many amazing things, and I'm just so proud of Charles and of everybody who's involved with this organization, because it's just amazing. So check them out. Also, we are raising money through Mission Kharkiv for heaters and generators and stuff like that currently, and there's going to be a campaign for Giving Tuesday, and we are just incredibly excited. We're just incredibly excited to be able to help in that way. And I think that one of the reasons why I really like volunteering with them is because they do really pick and choose their battles, and they're all humanitarian, and they're all incredibly important, and they do take care of the most vulnerable people, right? So I think it's a very, very great initiative, and I've been really, really lucky and happy to be working with them, to be volunteering my time, and to have an opportunity to work with them. So let me do this. I am going to show you a video while I go grab myself a waffle, because I am incredibly, 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 incredibly starved. Also, Netlin, my YouTube got monetized. Hi, Netlin. Also, sorry. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to try to give you like a brief little thing. So it's not that I'm super happy that YouTube got monetized because, ooh, money. No. First of all of the Torque videos are now monetized, and by watching them, you will be basically donating to Torque to get his apartment for his parents, because all of the monetization from Torque videos goes to Torque. To buy an apartment for his parents, who lost everything in Mariupol, and so did he. And so I applied for YouTube monetization 2 months ago. Or more, like end of August. I applied end of August. Normally, it takes under 30 days to make a decision on monetizing someone on YouTube or not. My videos are not derogatory. They are not, I don't curse in my videos. I'm respectful and stuff like that. And I talk about one topic. I talk about the war in Ukraine from a news standpoint, where I cite all of my sources. So none of this is just like, taken out of thin air. You can check the things I'm saying. Outside of those that are stories from my family members or my friends' family members, in which case I say those are stories from my family members and my friends' family members, or my own experiences, right? So usually it takes under 30 days to make that decision. So it's been like 35 days. I still haven't heard from them. So I messaged them. I was like, hi, what's up? So I basically had to harass them to even look at my channel. After 41 days, which is so much longer than it normally should take, they got back to me saying that they didn't monetize my channel because my content was harmful. And I looked under the harmful content, like what applies as harmful content. And like what qualifies as harmful content. First of all, if you think my content is harmful, why do you let me be on your platform to begin with? Okay, but I digress. So I looked at what qualifies as harmful content, and the only thing that could qualify to my channel was controversial subjects, talking about controversial subjects or issues. And I was like, so I DM'd them, and I messaged their support, and I was like, I'm sorry, you're trying to tell me that you're discriminating my content that is not harmful based on the fact that I am talking about the war in my country, which you consider to be a controversial subject. And they were like, no, this is not what it is. We don't discriminate Ukrainians. Here are the reason. Here is like that another copy pasted thing of like why my monetization could have been rejected. And I'm like, okay, you're sending me the same thing where the only thing that applies to my content that could apply to my content under your like whatever under like this harmful whatever is controversial issues. So I was like on and on with them. I wrote them so many like well-researched, strongly worded emails showing to them exactly why this is discrimination and why they're basically contradicting their own decision by talking to me right now. And at the end of the day, they were like, they were not super responsive. And they said that a group of independent experts, randomly selected people, look at my video titles, my videos, and my content, and like my views and like whatever, and my hashtags and stuff like that. And they decide whether this channel is good for monetization or not. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. You randomly select a group of people who watches my channel and tells you if they find it offensive, right? Have you screened that group of people for pro-Russian propaganda narratives, for pro-Russian propaganda beliefs? Because this channel is a news and politics channel, right? So I'm talking about, like, you can't have a group of Republicans decide whether you can monetize a channel that talks about, like, I don't know, the problems within the Republican Party, right? Because obviously they're gonna say they're biased. They're gonna say it's harmful content just because they don't want you to be monetized, because they don't want you to be heard to begin with. They want you to be discouraged from making content, right? But it doesn't mean that you are not saying things that are backed by research and facts. It just means that they don't like them, right? And so what I was saying is that, like, I wrote them this whole thing being like, these are not independent experts, because this is not a slime channel. This is not like a prank channel. This is not like a lifestyle blog channel. You can't just take random people off the street and have them determine whether my content applies, whether my content is controversial or not, because these people are not like, they're not unbiased. They're not, you didn't screen them for pro-Russian views, and there's so many people who have been affected by propaganda. And so I reapplied for monetization, and well, this time it took like 7 days and they monetized me, which I was like, woohoo, thank you, because I'm sure everybody can agree I don't like produce controversial content or talk about controversial issues or like spread harmful narratives. Yeah, as Gap says, your channel is harmful to the Russian narrative. Exactly. My channel is only harmful to Russian propaganda because I cite facts that contradict the fairy tales that propaganda likes to make up. And it's like, you can prove what I'm saying by facts and research and history and science and, and a lot of other stuff, but you can't do that with Russian propaganda because it's made up. Like, it doesn't even click together. But anyway, so I'm really happy that had happened. I'm exhilarated that this is the situation, because now I have much more motivation to like post Torque videos in different Telegram chats and different. Also, hey guys, here is a little task for you. If you would like to monetarily help Torque without actually spending any money, here is something that I will ask you to do. Could you please post Torque's interview in your Facebook groups, in the Telegram channels that you have, in like the Signal channels that you might follow, in like, I don't know, blogs that you are like some groups. I don't even know what else people use, like Facebook, Reddit, Instagram group chats. I don't know, like maybe you are in touch with like Instagram creators that would be interested in like promoting this video. So here's my thing. If you think you could send whichever part you consider to be your favorite so far of Torque's interview, please, please, please send it to friends, family, Instagram groups, Facebook chats, Facebook blogs, like group chats, whatever you can, because you never know who's actually going to be interested, and you never know who's going to read about it. Also, if you could help me DM it to like pro-Ukrainian, influencers on Instagram or something like that, asking them if they could post about it, because I know you guys might like, sometimes, like there are people who speak to me, and sometimes I will receive DMs and they will say like, hey, I have this friend, he's in the front, could you help him in this and that way? And I'm happy to do so, and I'm happy to like discuss it with you. If I can help, I will help, right? So I know that obviously other creators also are in touch with you guys, so maybe you can DM one of the creators, explain the situation to them, and just help do it that way. So yeah, so yes, so basically that's what it is. So thank you very much. If you could do that, I would be incredibly grateful. And yeah, that would help Torque significantly to raise money for his apartment, because all the monetization is going to go straight into his pocket. But okay. And I will obviously post receipts and stuff like that. I don't quite know yet how monetization works and like how they display it, but I know that I think every 1,000 views is like $10, depending on how many ads you have, because you could, I guess it could be more. But so yes, basically, we will try to monetize it as much as possible. We'll try to like put as many ads in there as possible to monetize it. And yeah. Also, I would say, honestly, even if you want to help, and you want yourself to watch the Torque videos to sort of give it monetization, you don't even have to watch the whole video. Just keep like skipping, so it would like play you ads, and you will be done within a couple of minutes, and you will just watch all the ads. If you have time for that. But yes, so that is something that I wanted to let you know, and that is something that I wanted to ask you for. And someone says big cozy jumper. Yes, I love this jumper. Also, I love the word jumper, and I would say you're probably Australian or English or a New Zealander or Irish or Welsh or Scottish or South African, because jumper is, or southern from America, because it's such a like particular word, and I love the word jumper, because cardigan, sweater, jumper is so cute. Yeah, I do love this one. It's very cozy. But so let me actually, speaking of, like, I need to get a couple more jumpers, because I realized all of them are very colorful and I need something very neutral, and today's Black Friday, so this is what I'm going to try and do. But okay, let me go grab a waffle and we're gonna start on the news. In the meanwhile, let me show you let me show you a video. Okay, I'm going to. So this is a video reaction of Kyiv residents when they finally get electricity and lights on after not having electricity and lights like these. So it's very, very sweet, and I think it's it's a video that everybody should see. It's a little loud. I'm gonna let you know that this is a slightly loud video, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Also, why do I have an election notice? I'm not talking about US elections. I feel like my TikTok live wants me to talk about it. It's always like, oh, election notice on your live, and I'm like, I didn't even talk about them. Like, why? I didn't even say that word. Oh, jeez. Okay. present video file and action. Yep. So this is Kyiv people. This is Kyiv people being super happy that electric is on for at least a little, because you never know how long the electricity is on for. Like Vasily was saying that in his region, his mom only had electricity on in her house for like 35 minutes a day. I remember earlier in the invasion, like a little less than a month ago, maybe a month ago, when the first serious hits on the infrastructure in Kyiv happened. My friend Yulia, you remember them, Yulia and Max? She was saying that they have electric only 2 hours of the day. So, things might have gotten worse since then. And it's really, really sad. So, to that topic, here is a map of the world, or rather a map of Europe. Do you see how there is that black space? That's Ukraine. This is Moscow, super shiny, all the lights on. This is Ukraine, dark, barely any electricity. Also, Crazy Cat says, Crazy Cat says, we say swear in Ireland, really? Security Bureau of Ukraine prevents export luxury goods of arrested Motor Siege president abroad. The SBU detained the assets of Motor Siege president Vyacheslav Bohuslayev, worth hundreds of millions of hryvnias. This property was attempted to be smuggled out of Ukraine to avoid his arrest in the framework of criminal proceedings. Among the seized assets are rare cars and firearms, as well as Scythian gold and objects of ancient times and Kievan Rus. This is the person who was a traitor, who was basically sending motors from helicopters, because that's what Motor Siege develops, to Russia, and purposely deassembling helicopters so Ukraine wouldn't get them. This is a rare BMW. Scythian gold. Museum grade stuff. And this is the type of stuff that was stolen from different museums across Ukraine by Russians who were retreating. So I want to say that he probably took payment for the helicopters and for collaboration in these ancient items that he was hoping to sell in the black market. It's crazy because these are like rare cars and firearms that are historical, literally Scythian gold. That's crazy. In Kyiv, a little girl was brought to a gas station to connect an inhaler to a power grid that's necessary for her to live. This is the childhood of Ukrainian kids. And this is what Russia and its invasion and its people's absolute apathy are doing to Ukrainian kids. At midnight, the occupiers hit the suburbs of Zaporizhia with missiles. They hit near the hospital. There are no casualties, but there is destruction. Already at 7 a.m., Russians attacked the suburbs again. The circumstances of the incident are under investigation. Russian military launched a missile strike on the city of Toretsk in Donetsk region, said the head of the regional military administration, Pavlo Korolenko. The occupiers' missile completely destroyed a kindergarten. According to Forbes, Russia spent $82 billion on the war against Ukraine, which is a quarter of its budget for 2021. Next year, the war bill may become too high for Russia. Ukraine will receive a 4.5 billion grant from the United States in the framework of World Bank financing. The relevant agreement has been signed. The funds will be used for pension payments and certain programs of state social assistance, such as payment for housing and communal services, support for low-income families, the disabled, IDPs, as well as for medical services under the Medical Guarantee Program. In Crimea, Iranian advisors were killed who taught Russians to pilot Shahed 136 Kamikaze drones, according to Gen0cide. They were on our territory. They were not invited. If they cooperate with terrorists and participate in the destruction of our people, we must get rid of them, the NSDC secretary said. Also, sorry for chewing and eating, but you guys know that I'm sometimes on the go and so busy that I forget to eat. And so I'm very, very, very hungry today. Okay. Situation in the regions of Ukraine as of this morning. Zaporizhia region. Twice during the night, Russians fired rockets at the suburbs of Zaporizhia. At night, they hit a hospital. In the morning, at the service station. Fortunately, there were no casualties. Mykolaiv region. At night, from 8 a.m., from midnight, the enemy struck with MLRS on the port area and the settlement of Ochakiv community. As a result, one person got a concussion. Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. Oh, I didn't even know. What is a super sticker? That's so cute. Okay. I'm finding out the different things on YouTube that are similar to TikTok gifts that I didn't know existed. Okay, but so in Mykolaiv region at midnight, the enemy struck with MLRS on the port area of the settlement of Ochakiv community. As a result, one person got contusion. Residential buildings were damaged, including one multi-story building. Details are being clarified. Dnipropetrovsk region. Last night, Marhanetska and Nikopolska communities were shelled with Grad and heavy artillery. More than 70 Russian shells flew into towns and villages. People were not injured. Details are being clarified. Donetsk region. Russians wounded 3 civilians in Donetsk region, in Bakhmut, Vuhledar, and Krasnohorivka. Also, yesterday, as you might know, Brazil had a World Cup match against Serbia. Brazil won, thankfully. I was watching that match because my one part of my in-laws, they're Brazilian, and obviously we were all rooting for Brazil, but I would anyway because not Serbia. And so Serbia fans were shouting before the match with Brazil, Serbia and Russia are brothers forever. Serbia also had a flag in the fitting room of their athletes that was basically representing disrespect and colonization of Kosovo, like an anti-Kosovo flag. Serbia should be honestly disqualified from World Cup and should never have participated. Also, the World Cup is one of the things that I will not really be watching other than that one game, because the president of the World Cup had the audacity to record an address to Ukraine to ask Ukraine for a temporary ceasefire that would last a month a ceasefire with Russia so people could watch soccer. And maybe soccer can unite Russians and Ukrainians. And basically, let me translate, let your people be tortured and die in occupation while you while you just cease fire and let Russians regroup and attack you and continue torturing your civilians in occupation. Fantastic. Also, another thing about the World Cup that's really unpleasant is the fact that it's in Qatar. Thank you, Crazy Cat. Thank you. Is the fact that it's in Qatar. And Qatar is an extremely homophobic, racist, sexist place. It's really gross. Zelensky is ready to consider options for the non-military return of Crimea, but urges not to waste time on options that do not provide for the deoccupation of the peninsula. I understand that everyone is puzzled by the situation and what will happen to Crimea. If someone is ready to offer us a way to deoccupy Crimea by non-military means, I will only be for it. If the solution does not provide for the deoccupation and Crimea as part of the Russian Federation at last, no one should waste their time on it. It is a waste of time, the president said. He reiterated that there would be no long-term settlement of the war unless Russia withdraws from all of the occupied territories of Ukraine. British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly arrived in Kyiv for the first time on Thursday to meet with the Ukrainian leadership and pledged support for as long as it takes to defeat Russia. He announced an additional package of assistance to Ukraine, including $3 million to help rebuild infrastructure. Riga City Council, in partnership with the Latvian charitable foundation Gen0cide, will hand over 84 power generators and 100 heat guns to Kyiv, ambassador of Ukraine to Latvia has notified. So thank you, Riga. This is very, very, very sweet. And we really appreciate it. And we genuinely very much appreciate all of the world's support. And you guys don't even know how much. Dmytro Kuleba tweeted, all democratic German fractions agreed on a milestone joint Holodomor resolution to be passed next week. Decided, Bundestag sees it as a genocide. Grateful to Germany and personally to German leaders for honoring the Ukrainian people. So Germany and Bundestag consider Holodomor to be an artificially created famine. I also want to say that, there is a lot of rumors and there's been a lot of reports that Germany wanted Ukraine to fall within 3 days because that way Germany wouldn't have to restructure their entire economy dependence on Russia, and I get it. And in the beginning, that's why, and I was saying that multiple times, Germany was so non-reactive and kind of passive and stuff like that, but once they realized that they have no other choice, they really changed their tune and started doing everything right. So better late than never. Oh my gosh, thank you, Darlene. Oh, thank you, Truthful. Oh, hi, Sasha. Hi, Sasha. Oh my gosh, wait. You're back. Wait a second, guys. There's Sasha. You all must know Sasha, or at least some or most of you do. Sasha is a Ukrainian creator. He is from Western Ukraine as well. His handle is Sasha Rahelo, and I feel like he is, if there was a World Cup for being banned, I think Sasha would be literally for being banned for no reason by Russian trolls, and for having your account disabled and permanently taken down. Sasha would be like a champion and probably would hold the title that nobody could take over. So he was banned permanently 4 times in a row by Russian trolls. And then his account was restricted. and he couldn't post on it or like even watch it, as far as I understand, like 2 weeks afterwards, because someone reported his live for having like mind altering substances. So like, you know, the certain kind of greens that you could smoke, and it wasn't there. But yeah, so I'm glad to see that Sasha is able to at least be on TikTok and comment. So hi, Sasha. Okay. Norway handed over additional M109. Don't say it. Yeah, I'm not. Broccoli, for smoking broccoli, for inhaling broccoli. You know, someone reported Sasha for inhaling broccoli because, you know, Sasha really likes his greens, but broccoli wasn't even there. But okay, Norway handed over additional M109 self-propelled artillery systems, spare parts, and winter clothing for the military to Ukraine. What exactly was included in the new aid package? 1 M109A3GN, 20,000 spare parts for that weapon, 55,000 pieces of winter clothing, 55,000 bandages in individual packages, and 30,000 dry rations. Also, you know, so I want to address something that's not on topic, but kind of on topic. So I very often hear like tankies and commie sympathizers and a lot of very far-right Republicans talk about how much of tax dollars goes to aid in Ukraine and how many weapons Ukraine is sending to the United States. So I'm going to preface it by saying we are incredibly grateful in Ukraine for all of the weapons we're receiving. But the way that you see it is so not real, because the US has so far allocated 5.2% of their foreign defense budget to Ukraine. Most of the weapons that have been sent to Ukraine are not new and modern, like high-tech weapons. They're the weapons that would have been dusting in the warehouses and then would have been discontinued because they are old weapons. They're sending Ukraine all of the old weapons. Again, 5.2% of foreign defense budget, and that budget is set every single year. And that money was already there. It was already dedicated. So no one's going over budget for Ukraine. We're not even at 10% of the budget that was already dedicated to foreign conflicts. There is a fire in the Tyumen region of the Russian Federation. A warehouse with fuel trucks on an area of 800 square meters is burning. There were explosions in Kherson as of 5:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. France sends Ukraine 100 generators, as per French foreign minister. Russia wants to make winter a weapon of war. France is sending 100 generators to help Ukraine survive. In the dressing room of the Serbian national team, a slogan against Kosovo was noticed. So not only were Serbians screaming that they are brothers with Russia forever, they also have anti-Kosovo flags in their dressing rooms, and they should not be allowed into the World Cup. They should be disqualified for that. In addition, Team Russia openly endorses Serbia. Thank you, Darlene. Thank you. That's so cute, that pancake. In addition, Team Russia openly endorses Serbia's national football team at World Cup. Today, we're all rooting for Brazil, Switzerland, and Cameroon. Russia's Russian national team tweeted that they are endorsing Serbia and their brothers. The European Parliament arranged a surprise for the deputies who were against the recognition of Russia as a terrorist state. So those who voted no in the Euro Parliament to recognize Russia as a terrorist state came to work to a very lovely message on their door. There are woodpeckers in the European Parliament too. This is the morning for all those who did not support the recognition of Russia as a terrorist state, wrote MEP from Latvia, Ivars Labs. Tatiana Zdanoka was the only MEP from Latvia who voted against. Oh, thank you, Todd. So this is what she saw on her door coming into work. Thank you so much, Todd. It says, with my votes, I support terrorist. So that's a very lovely thing to come to work to, especially since, you know, it's very true. Also, so on TikTok, it's on YouTube, I guess there are these like monetization stickers and questions and something else. And on TikTok, for those of you who don't know, there are like these gifts and there are these animations. So one of the animations that Todd often sends me is like this, it's basically like a little swan that turns into a big, beautiful swan. And so I wanted to say, I kept thinking like, what does this remind me of? But it always, like, that swan gives me very warm feelings. And so I don't know if you guys know this because it's not a Disney princess movie, but when I was a kid, my absolute favorite princess movie was Swan Princess. And I thought the prince was the cutest prince out of all of the princes. Even though this wasn't Disney, I still thought that they, like, the way that he was like drawn and the character himself was like the most attractive to me, you know, to a 4-year-old. So I'm gonna try and find the trailer to it on YouTube because I don't know if a lot of you guys have seen it. It's really, it's not Disney. It's like some random thing. But so it was my favorite cartoon trailer, and there is Swan Princess 2 and Swan Princess 3, and oh my gosh, Swan Princess: A Royal Mystery official trailer by Sony Pictures. Wow, so there is a new one. But so yes, the Swan Princess official trailer, 25th anniversary trailer. So this is what it is.
Okay, Fitbit.
Okay, come on.
Ready to hit the street today.
1 second. But basically, this was my absolute favorite cartoon when I was growing up, when it came to like princesses and when it came to, you know, all of that stuff. I didn't really identify or like any like Disney princesses that much. Like, they were okay, but they weren't my favorite. And so this one was my favorite for some reason. I don't know why. But so this is Odette. And this is Derek.
Children, Prince Derek and Princess Odette weren't exactly the best of friends. But as they grew up, they began to see each other differently. Then, before their kingdoms could unite, Odette
Oh,
was
Crazy Cat, thank you.
Enchanter.
Yay, oh my gosh, I'll send it to Torque.
Transforming her with a powerful spell.
1 second.
Wherever you are, I'm gonna find you. The Swan Princess. An exciting, delighting, magical musical fantasy. Beauty and laughter.
Thank you, Gorilla Joe.
Featuring the voices of John Cleese.
To the rescue, mademoiselle!
Sandy Duncan.
Incoming Fluvia. Excuse me.
Jack Palance.
Don't give me that look, Missy.
And Stephen Wright. Now, Odette the Swan and her faithful friends from the forest are searching for Prince Derek
Oh, no!
to reveal the Swan's secret, a spell that can only be broken by looking beyond her feathers to find the beauty inside.
Hello, Derek.
Odette, come share a timeless tale of legendary love. The Swan Princess, an enchanting animated adventure.
So yeah, this was my favorite princess cartoon when I was a kid. So if anybody has kids and they're interested in princess cartoons and you guys don't know about this one, I guess check it out. I can't really speak for it. I think I have to like rewatch it for like subtle misogyny and stuff like that, because that's what I find with all of the Disney old cartoons about princesses. But so I don't remember whether there is anything like that in there, but I don't think so. She's basically a swan. No one knows. It's a curse. And yeah. And so, and there is that. but yeah, but so so this was my favorite thing. And if you guys didn't know about this, there is Swan Princess 1, Swan Princess 2, and Swan Princess 3. Okay, so there is like 3 of them. If you need your kids to be stuck to the screen for however long, this is it. I'm losing all Ukrainian creators at the moment and massive surge of Russian propaganda on my TikTok. Oh yeah, there has been a massive surge of Russian propaganda on TikTok, on Twitter, everywhere. Honestly, like I like despise Twitter right now. I hate going there because it used to be people like quote tweeting my stuff that are pro-Ukrainian, that are nice people and stuff like that. And I and you know, I really I I really I don't like going there because now it's just like all crazy Russian, pro-Russian, and not even bots, like brainwashed Russians who just answer my tweets by quote tweeting them and calling me Ukrainian and calling me slurs for Ukrainians. So like, not my thing. Also, thank you, Crazy Cat. So I will send it to Torque by the end of the stream. I'll try to do it. I'll try to do it on the stream. And then thank you, Gorilla Joe. So Scooter says, in Anastasia and All Dogs Go to Heaven. I love All Dogs Go to Heaven, but I don't like Anastasia because it kind of like it glorifies the Romanov family, and they're Russian imperialists. So not my thing. Okay, The Spectator. The US has banned Poland from transferring Soviet MiG-29 jets to Ukraine. While China has promised to neutralize Putin's nuclear threat. Initially, the US, hi Kiparisik. Initially, the US reacted positively to Poland's idea to transfer its Soviet MiG-29 fighters to the Ukrainian army, but the very next day, March 8th, the Americans opposed such a transfer. The reason for this was contacts with generals of the Chinese army. They believed that this would lead to an escalation of the conflict, so they called on the United States to prevent it. Instead, Chinese generals who had good private contacts with Russian generals promised to do everything possible to neutralize Putin's nuclear threats. Their efforts were aimed at convincing Russian generals, if ordered to use nuclear weapons, either to persuade the political leadership not to do so in accordance with Russia's nuclear doctrine, or to sabotage the execution of this order at their own level. Yeah, okay, well, that's still, okay, sure, you could still do that without banning the MiGs. And also another thing is like, you can't really, at this point in the war, expect that Russia will actually follow through on its promises, and you can actually do anything with the Russian generals because the Russian generals are evidently don't even know what they're doing themselves. You can't trust that. According to the press center of the Joint Forces of the Operational Command South and Natalia Humaniuk, the Russians already understand that they will have to retreat from the south. The enemy has mined the coastline and is getting up firing positions 15 to 20 kilometers deep because they understand they will have to retreat. This, in fact, is a move that really shows that Russians are getting ready to retreat. When they mine things around, this is their act of despair before retreating. NATO Secretary General comments on Poland's idea for Germany to move Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. Stoltenberg said that the alliance provided Ukraine with air defense systems, but when it comes to specific capabilities, it should be a decision of the national government. Earlier, Berlin made it clear that the Patriot missile systems offered to Poland are intended only for use on NATO territory. Well, let's see what happens when the entirety of the NATO nations talk about it. This story is hilarious. I already filmed a TikTok about this, and I'm going to put it out there after the stream, but it's hilarious. The Security Service of Ukraine conducted searches on the territory of the Chernihiv-Bukovina Diocese of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate and found documents confirming the presence of Russian citizenship, Moscow methods of worship, so Russia, preaching Russian world, and huge batches of pro-Kremlin literature. In particular, during the search, the secretary of the Gen0cide diocese of the UOCMP, Archimandrite Nikita, was found at a prayer service in bed with a boy who sings in a local choir. So here is a fun fact. Russian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchy, or Ukrainian Orthodox Church under the Moscow Patriarchy, it's the same thing as the Russian Orthodox Church. It's all like Russian world priests, preach homophobia. So this is SBU. This is like the documents that they found. Okay. This is the priest. This is him. You know, so we can know his face a little better. This is what he looks like. This. And this is the boy that he was found in bed with. He sings in a local choir. Church choir, that is. Montenegro supports Ukraine on the way to NATO, Ministry of Defense of the country stated. Today, Ukraine is fighting for freedom of the entire European continent. We admire the courage of Ukrainian defenders. We are always with you. Our country is a good friend of your people. Montenegro supports the aspiration of Ukrainians to become a full member of NATO. We will be your advocates not only in the Balkans, but also in the alliance and Europe, stressed the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and acting Minister of Defense of Montenegro, Filip Adzik. Prague is donating hundreds of pieces of equipment to help provide light and heat in Kyiv and Mykolaiv while the infrastructure is being restored after Russian missile strikes, as well as equipment for medical institutions. This was announced by the mayor of Prague, Zdenek Hryb, in his Twitter. This one is a very, very, very bittersweet one. This year's selection of 100 photos from Times 22 is dedicated to the events in Ukraine. We are publishing some of them to refresh your minds on the will to win and the steadfastness that our people have shown since the first days of the full-scale invasion, as well as the horrors we had to go through. So there is going to be a lot more. There is 100 photos in the Times that they publish yearly to kind of reflect on the year, and this year's dedication is to Ukraine. And these are some of the photos. This is a field in Ukraine. These are sandbags, and these are high school graduates who are dancing in front of them. U.S. aid donates 80 generators to Ukraine to maintain power supply, U.S. ambassador to Ukraine states. This assistance is just part of the U.S. response to Russia's continued attacks on Ukraine's critical infrastructure. So someone's asking, sorry, where do I see these? In the Times. The Times is the magazine, and so they publish yearly a selection of 100 photos. The Times 22. So the Times 2022. All nuclear power plants of Ukraine have restored connection to the national power grid after the Russian missile attack that took place on November 23rd. Rivne, South Ukraine, Khmelnytsky, and Chernobyl NPPs are connected to the grid. A group of IAEA experts present at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant seized by the Russians reported yesterday that the external connection to the facility had been restored as well. South Korea will provide Ukraine with high-power generators. According to the ambassador of Ukraine to the Republic of Korea, Dmytro Ponomarenko, the Korean side agreed to provide Ukraine with 20 generators with a capacity of 450 to 500 kilowatts, as well as 5 Doosan DX-17Z mini excavators and as humanitarian aid. Foreign companies help Russia direct missiles at Ukraine, Ukrainian intelligence reports. To guide missiles, Russia uses its own development of GLONASS, an analog of GPS. It was created in 1982 by order of the USSR Ministry of Defense. According to intelligence, GLONASS depends on microchips produced by foreign companies. Usually, these are civilian chips, but Russians use them for military purposes. The chips receive and process coordinates from GLONASS, and missiles use this information to navigate in space and target Ukrainian civilian and energy infrastructure. The Defense Intelligence of Ukraine has published a list of foreign companies that continue to produce microchips with GLONASS support. The list includes companies from the USA, Switzerland, Canada, Belgium, and Great Britain. Without foreign-made GLONASS-enabled chips, Russians will have to build their own microelectronics from scratch, the intelligence officers noted. In response to Prigozhin's bloody sledgehammer for the European Parliament, Estonian foreign minister said he would send handcuffs to The Hague to wait there for the owner of the Wagner PMC to be held accountable for his crimes in Ukraine.
This week, Prigozhin sent a watcher's hammer to the European Parliament after Parliament recognized Russia as a terrorist sponsor. I will send these handcuffs to Hague International Criminal Court headquarters, where they are going to wait Prigozhin and his accomplices for the crimes against the Ukrainian people. Terrorists are laughing at the victims in Ukraine.
I have no comment here. Thank you. Germany discusses with allies Poland's request to send German Patriot systems to Ukraine, German government spokesman. Kazakhstan is negotiating with the United States to export oil bypassing Russia. U.S. Ambassador to Astana Daniel Rosenblum said, in September, state-owned Kazmunai began exporting oil through Georgia and Azerbaijan via the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline. After oil, Kazakhstan plans to export uranium bypassing Russian ports. Yeah, see, Kazakhstan, from the very beginning, saw an opportunity that they can deny over here, and that's why they quickly separated from Russia. Putin has returned to the unusual manner of holding meetings around a long table, setting everyone away from himself. Hungarian President Kalin Novak will visit Kyiv and become the most senior representative of the neighboring state to visit Ukraine since the beginning of the Russian invasion, says Index. According to the Hungarian publication, Novak will visit Ukraine at the invitation of Zelensky. Oh, boy found in bed with the Russian Orthodox Church priest was a minor. He was 17 years old. I wonder how Russian government is going to explain that one to its people, because, you know, as far as I know, first of all, Russia says that there are no gay people in Russia. Second of all, Russian Orthodox Church preaches homophobia. Third, and you know, in other news, Russia has just posted on its official page on Twitter of their Ministry of Canada that a family is a man and a woman and children, nothing else, a normal family. So I'm like curious, how are they going to explain their priest, you know, having some very familial relationships with a non-woman? You know, but so here I'm going to demonstrate to you, I'm going to show you another video. Here it is. I think it's this one. basically this video stated that, do you see darkness here? Well, this isn't darkness because darkness didn't get to overtake us. We are the light, and this is a video in memory of everybody who has sacrificed their life in order for Ukrainians to see the light. Polish President Andrzej Duda said that the remains of the second missile, which was previously reported, were not found in Przewodów. Interesting. That's interesting. Well, there was either not a second missile, or these remains are somewhere else. The main thing for today: Norway has handed over additional M109 self-propelled artillery systems, spare parts, and clothing for the military to Ukraine. British Foreign Secretary cleverly visited Kyiv and announced new aid to Ukraine worth £50 million. The package will include emergency vehicles and armored vehicles. USA donated 80 generators to Ukraine to maintain power supply. All 4 operating nuclear power plants in Ukraine have access to the Ukrainian grid again after the loss of power supply. As of 7 p.m., the Ukrainian Kyiv time, the power grid remains in deficit. 30% of the consumption needs. Phased restoration continues. Consumers are being connected to the grid. Okay. One second. So here. Let's see what Kyiv Independent has to say, sort of to, go over everything we talked about. Officials say more than 15,000 people missing in war in Ukraine, according to Reuters. More than 15,000 people are documented to have gone missing during the war in Ukraine, an official with the International Commission of Missing Persons on November 24th. BBC says UK Foreign Secretary visits Kyiv, pledges more support. Russian attacks injure 5 people in Donetsk, Mykolaiv, and Kharkiv Oblast. Russian losses as of November 25th amount to 86,150 personnel. UK Defense Ministry says Russian conscripts face heavy casualties in Ukraine. The UK Defense Ministry said there are likely high casualty rates among mobilized Russian reservists due to frontal assaults near Bakhmut, Donetsk Oblast, and digging trench systems under artillery fire near Svatova, Luhansk Oblast. The ministry said Russian conscripts often face confusion over eligibility for service, inadequate training and personal equipment, and commitment to highly attritional combat missions. This is very interesting because, those Russian conscripts, they complain about the quality of weapons, they complain about their ammunition, they complain about their clothing, they complain about their generals. You know what I don't see them complaining about? Being sent to war with Ukraine to kill innocent people. They're not complaining about that. They're complaining about inadequate ammunition. Cool. Prosecutor General's office: bodies of 2 men killed by Russian troops exhumed in Kharkiv Oblast. Local law enforcement exhumed the bodies of 2 men shot by Russian troops near a forest in Podole, Kharkiv Oblast on November 24th, the Prosecutor General's office reported. The men, aged 28 and 39, had reportedly been killed in mid-September when the region was still under Russian occupation. Governor says Russian strikes in Kherson Oblast killed 10 people and injure 54. Russian forces shelled Kherson Oblast 49 times on November 24th, hitting residential buildings, a shipyard, school grounds, and gas pipes in Kherson. Kherson Oblast Governor Yaroslav Yanushevich reported. The Guardian says Danilov says Iranian military instructors were unalived in occupied Crimea. Zelensky says peace solutions, not including liberation of Crimea, are a waste of time. Kuleba says most German parliament fractions agree to recognize Holodomor as a genocide of Ukrainians. Belarus Weekly: Ukraine says Moscow to strike Belarus in false flag operation. Ukraine's intelligence directorate says Russia plans to stage a series of provocations aimed at Belarus critical infrastructure and blame it on Ukraine. The directorate said Russia will likely conduct false flag operations in Belarus, Grodno and Brest regions bordering Ukraine and the European Union. Ukrenergo: Ukraine to import electricity from the EU. National Resistance Center says 12,000 Russian troops deployed in Belarus. Ukrainian authorities evacuate hospital patients from Kherson amid Russian attacks. The UN says Russian attacks on Ukraine's energy system have killed 77 civilians since October 10th. Some 272 people have been injured, according to the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine. Security Service says of Ukraine, leaders of Moscow Orthodox Church in Gen0cide have Russian passports. The Security Service of Ukraine said on November 25th it had conducted searches on the territory of the Chernihiv and Bukovina diocese of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchy and found documents confirming that its leaders have Russian citizenship. Law enforcement also found Moscow's manuals on conducting services after the start of the full-scale invasion. Representatives of the church were instructed to misinform parishioners about the socio-political situation in Ukraine and situation at the front, according to the report. In the Kyiv office of the Johar Dudayev battalion, two flags hang on the wall next to each other: the yellow and blue flag of Ukraine and the green, white, and red flag of the Chechen Republic of Ichkeria. The battalion, named for the first president of the short-lived Chechen Republic, Johar Dudayev, who led the republic's drive for independence from Russia before his assassination in 1996, has been fighting for Ukraine since the start of Russia's invasion in 2014. Those are the Chechens fighting Russia in Ukraine. There is a very big difference between Chechens who are Kadyrovites, who live in Chechnya today, and Chechens who identify themselves as the Republic of Ichkeria Chechens and who were fighting for Chechen independence. Very, very different people. IAEA, all Ukraine-controlled nuclear power plants reconnected to country's power grid. The governor of Kharkiv says Russian troops fire S-300 missiles at Kharkiv Oblast's Chuhuyev district. Earlier the same day, he said Russian forces struck the town of Vovchansk, injuring a 66-year-old man and damaging residential buildings. Ukraine bans fuel wood exports. The government banned the exports because fuel wood is the primary source for heating in many Ukrainian communities, especially those near the front line, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said on November 25th. Speaking of Russian military casualties, Putin says death is inevitable. During a meeting with soldiers' mothers, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin compared the country's losses during the invasion of Ukraine with the number of people dying in road accidents and from alcohol-related reasons. In our country, about 30,000 people die in road accidents per year. About the same number die from alcohol, he said. We are all mortal, and someday we will all leave this world. It is inevitable. What an inspiring speech. Ukraine's armed forces estimate Russia's losses since February 24th at 86,150 troops. So that is more than both alcoholics and car accidents. It's also very interesting because the fact that there are 30,000 citizens dying in Russia every year from alcoholism, and those are low numbers, I believe that it's much more, is a problem within itself, and there should be something done about that. Zelensky visited Vyzhhorod after Russian missile strike. President Volodymyr Zelensky visited Vyzhhorod, a suburb of Kyiv, on November 25th after a Russian missile strike killed 7 people there 2 days ago. A damaged 4-story residential building is a consequence of the Russian missile terror against our people. We are providing all the necessary assistance to the affected residents. In particular, we are ensuring their housing needs, he said. Ukrenergo says Ukraine still faces 30% electricity shortage after Russian missile attacks. And that's all I have for today. Let's discuss and stuff like that. I am going to read Armin's quote of the day because I think I see it being posted. So let me see. Okay. Russia is blatantly lying about history. Orwell made lying about history a hallmark of tyranny of the regime in his novel 1984. Russian propaganda is once again full-blown Orwellian. Near the beginning of 1984, Orwell described how a society begins begins a descent into a totalitarian nightmare by writing this. If all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth. Who controls the past? Ran the party slogan, controls the future. Yeah, well, that's kind of what Russia has been doing. It's like the only reason that they have kind of like they've seen the success that they have is because they've controlled the past. They rewrote history and they appropriated it. Hello. Hi, boo. Hi. There are really a lot of parallels. Yes. Oh, mic covered. Sorry. Didn't realize. For once, the mic wasn't covered on YouTube. It was covered on TikTok. Can you imagine? Also on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, you can see Sin in her full glory snoring over here. But yeah, so this is kind of, the realities of this situation, and this is the realities of how Russia rewrites history. And it's crazy to me because on Twitter, anytime I write something about real history, there is like a flock of Russians, not trolls, actual Russians, writing to me slurs that they use for Ukrainian people and telling me how Ukrainians are so adamant about appropriating history, how Russia was the elder of the three brothers, Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia, how Russia is superior, how Rus is Russia, how yeah, it's gross. It's just really gross. It's copium at its worst. It's fantastic. Surely Russians know how their leaders lie from their history. Nope. They think that their leaders might have lied in the Soviet Union, but not about history, because history is what gives them the superiority complex. History is what shows that Russia was always great. So they don't think that anybody lies about that. Jillian says, so it's like the quote, they believe the lie and they try to educate you on the lie. Oh yeah. And they always tell me I'm appropriating history and that I'm a stupid Ukrainian. Well, whatever they call me, all the slurs. Oh, they even called me a dumb American beach. I'm saying beach because I'm not going to say the real word. But they called me a dumb American beach. And they now, there is a new rhetoric of Russian propaganda. Basically, they say that Ukrainians fighting to correct history so history is recorded properly is Ukrainian nationalism. Because it's easy to convince people this is not true. It's just ravaging nationalism. And so they now say things like Ukrainian nationalism has been so heightened and ravaging that now even these American beaches spread lies like this about history. I'm like, well, honey bunnies, I'm not American beach, I'm Ukrainian beach. And at least I have access to beaches that don't look like a war has torn through them, like Sochi, But who am I to say? But yeah, it's incredibly funny to me because Russians basically gaslight me, and they tell me that I'm the one who's rewriting history. Have you thought about having a chat with Vaush? He's pro-Ukraine, but still seems to think the Azov regiment is Nazi. I don't know who that is, but also anybody who thinks anybody who thinks that Azov are Nazi is not pro-Ukraine, is not pro-Ukrainian. They're just ignorant and limited, and are selectively willing to believe propaganda depending on what suits their like liking. That is not pro-Ukrainian. That is selectively pro-Ukrainian, which means it's not pro-Ukrainian. Anyone who says I support Ukraine but doesn't support Ukraine. I don't know who that is, but I would say please send him my videos. Black Viking, hello. Oh, hi. Good to see you again. Thank you for the news. Good night. Good night, Mariana. It was so good to see you. Russian history damage needs to be undone, just like Woodrow Wilson's fake rewrites. Yeah. Hi. Hi. I think it says Scotty. Yes, Scotty. Sorry. Sometimes it's hard to see because like there is stuff here and oh, there we go. Wait, there we go. So this way I can see comments on a unilateral background, not on just like a bunch of different things. Russian ports just look so dirty because of all of the remnants of the Moskva. But also Russia like disposes of a lot of toxic chemicals into their like waterways and stuff. And just Russia is so toxic. What can you tell me about the news? Well, we just finished a 1.5-hour newscast and it's available on my YouTube if you'd like to see it. My YouTube is the same as this, Yulia, and I'm streaming. So, oh, let me catch everybody up who doesn't know. Okay, hi, my name is Yulia. I'm born and raised in Ukraine. I moved to the United States when I was 16 years old to study. My parents, my grandparents, and all of my immediate family lives in Lviv, Ukraine. I have been to New York. I have been in New York for 12 years now, and every day on this channel we do the news for the past 24 hours about Ukraine, giving the news political, geopolitical, and historical context. And we do this daily, and I stream on 4 platforms at the same time on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter for now, but we will see. I don't know how much longer I will be on Twitter. And basically, that's what we do daily. My handle is the same across all social media. On TikTok, you can find answers to all of the questions that you might have if you scroll far down enough. On YouTube, I have interviews with Ukrainian defenders. I am planning on adding to those interviews because they're already recorded, but I still haven't had the time to process them, to edit them, and to put a voiceover on them because all of them are translated into English and voiced over in English. Also, there is a new segment coming to the YouTube very soon, probably next week, called Bleep They Say to Us. And the first episode is going to be Bleep Russians Say to Us. So one, and then the second segment is going to be my husband's father, who's a chef, cooking Ukrainian dishes that I tell him to research. And you guys will get the recipes and the full cooking process. But he's a trained French cuisine chef, and I will be telling him names of Ukrainian dishes. He'll be doing his research and making his interpretations of them, and I will be the judge of whether they taste good. Also, somebody had asked me about my rings. So, I mean, this is just like a regular ring, and inside of it, where was it? There is basically a thing inside of it that says mensch, which means human. This is my wedding band, but I wear it here because I have lost a lot of weight since then, and it's like, you know, like that. So I wear it on here basically, And I, you know, also like I don't care. Also have very small, like I don't care for the proper like, oh, your wedding band is supposed to be here or like whatever. I just like it over here. And also, you know, I can do this to the Russian troll that just came in. And it's like, you know, it's from both of us. And yeah, so that's my wedding band. Also, I have like very, very small fingers to begin with. And so that it's very hard to like size rings for me. This one's a little rabbit. It's actually from a Ukrainian brand. It's silver. And my aunt Anastasia got it for me. I don't know which Ukrainian brand this is, but I can find out from her. So it's like a bunny. And it looks like this in the back, so you can size it. And then I have this ring, which is kind of just like a deformed sort of, you know, it's like this. Oh my gosh, there is someone. Oh no. Anyways, so that is that. Alrighty, guys. If no one has any more questions or anything like that, I'm gonna go make some dinner because I am very hungry still. The waffle didn't help that much. And I just want to make something very fast, which would be couscous. But so yeah, if you are not signed up for my YouTube, please follow me on YouTube. Here's what it looks like. I do ask you to do so because also there are interviews with the Ukrainian defender Torque, and all of the proceeds from monetization, for which I was approved literally yesterday, are going to go to Torque to buy an apartment for his mom and grandma because they're from Mariupol and lost everything in Mariupol. And if you want to help them out, you can watch the interview on repeat, watch all of the ads, and all of the proceeds are going to go to Torque. So this is my YouTube channel. This is what it looks like. If you don't follow me, please follow me. So Armin says, accepting for a full grown 200-pound of Charka's dogs like Cindy are the cutest dogs I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, yeah. Cindy is funny because she like acts like a big dog and she is like sturdy like a big dog, but she's a small dog. But Cindy is not like a small dog in any sort of capacity other than just like being a baby and sleeping with me. But she's very sturdy and she kind of like has a personality of a big dog. And she also is not like, you know, she's not like one of those like tender little creatures. Alrighty, guys. Okay. Good night. I might go live later today just to chat, but for now, adios. Good night. Happy Black Friday shopping. I hope everybody got what they wanted, and I will see you later. Cindy sometimes thinks she's a pit bull. Oh yeah, Cindy always thinks she's a pit bull. It's cool. Right, little pit bull? Right, who is my little pit bull? Who is my little pit bull? Pit bull. Bye, guys. Alrighty. Good night. Oh, hi, Barb. You can find me on YouTube. Thank you, Alexander.